To you, Daybreak Show rolls on. Time for us to find out what's doing with the Port of Shelton in our Port of Call with Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's got to be getting closer and closer, although today probably not the best day to work on it, but getting close to some runway improvements there for the folks on Sanderson Field.
Yeah, we're going out for bid,
Bid is out,
Yeah.
And bids are due tomorrow.
Oh.
So,
That's right.
yeah, they'll open bids tomorrow. So there's a couple things going on. The first thing is that, as you know, with the streaked-horned lark listed species, we've been, had to do a little bit more work to get this project underway, which is why the timing is so difficult, so to speak. So we're a little nervous. We've heard some rumblings from the paving companies that they're too busy, that our project is going to be large, but we've also heard that there's other paving companies that are really asking all kinds of questions. So that typically means that they are going to bid. So we're hopeful. There's 5 primes on the list, and so we're hopeful that they will come out and bid, and
good ones,
and that it'll be low and not and within budget. But there's options if that's not the case. There's options if we don't get bids. There's options if they're too high, and that is that you put off the bidding because the season will end quickly, and then you have to go out and rebid. And it's happened before. It's great to have on our team Century West. They're just known for airport projects, and they're our engineer. And they said this has happened before, where bids have either come in too high or lack of bids, and then rebid the project in the winter, and you get a lot lower prices. So it's not the end of the world. I think for us, this is such a huge project that it feels looming, that we kind of just want to make sure it happens. And
get it going,
but worst case scenario, if it couldn't happen this year, it definitely can stretch into next year. And
so if it did stretch into next year, would it be the same sort of late summer window, or is there an early portion of the lark season that you could sneak into?
There is. So I think the birds really start mating and nesting and coming to the area. Gosh, I want to say in the spring.
Springtime, right?
So there could be an early time frame when that would work out. I'm not totally sure I'm accurate on that, but I think it could change the dynamics a little bit. In this window, we have to actually, as soon as if we get a bidder and we go and before we can give them a notice to proceed, or before the job can actually get underway, we have to have, through U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they've determined that we have to have a biologist come out and do a determination of, are the birds still in the area? Are they seeing juveniles? Are they seeing nests? And if they are, that changes the dynamics of the project. So
if you get a determination that there is a nest or a juvenile on the premises, does that then block it out for a certain amount of time, like a blank year window, or is it a year-by-year determination after
and
that?
It's quick time. So it would be if they see them still in the nest, which we're doubting they will this late in the season. But if they did, or they saw juveniles and they weren't quite ready to go, it would just make buffers. We would probably put off the electrical portion of the project till the end, so that they would be gone by then, because that's, you're taking out pavement, you're doing different things along we just have to realign the project, so to speak. So,
and is this a mandate from the FAA to have this redone, or is it you guys have determined
Or you mean get
the paving done?
the overlay, it's just we're in line for that.
Okay.
Our surface is okay, and we did the slurry seal, in 2012 so that was to lengthen the amount of time before we had to actually do this overlay. But because they've allotted the money, it's discretionary funding, that it's timely to do it now. And our surface is ready, but that being said, it's not going to crumble,
right? And most airports are on large areas of what is sometimes prairie land, so they I'm sure they run into these types of delays often.
So it's interesting because FAA is very much being a federal agency. They're very environmentally, they're environmental proponents. You do a lot of studies. You do NEPA instead of SEPA. I mean, there's various things. But when it comes to the airport and these particular projects and getting them done. It's like the environment, they're as frustrated as we can be in having to do these extra steps because the project has to get done, and so it's kind of interesting how those roles kind of fluctuate as you get into something like this. But we have a great working relationship with FAA. We have a great working relationship with our engineer. Even U.S. Fish, they've been really helpful, and they have requirements, but they're willing to work with you.
Sure.
So when they talked about, well, if we see nests or we see juveniles, you're going to have these huge buffers around it, and you can't move in and out of the area. We came back and said, Brandon does just a fantastic job in my office, and he said, that's not going to work. Or, he and the engineer, they kind of argued back and said, you can't be paving and, going, a roundabout, and, how do you get to your locations?
Yeah, you either do it or you don't.
So,
Yeah.
So jointly with the FAA, they kind of, fought back a little bit, and they were flexible. I mean, their job is to protect the species, and, so we're doing everything we can to do that. So yeah, it makes projects like this interesting, to say the least.
Only
And I think we talked about, we have some, we haven't gotten the official okay, but we're pretty sure the FAA is going to grant us the okay to use the taxiway when the runway's closed. That being said, because it's not typically used, there are trees, obstruction, penetrating that surface to come down, to land. So a plane like Kapowsin's landings, they don't necessarily get impacted by these trees, but others. So we went out and did a SEPA, and we have a tree consultant. There's no money value. It's just basically a take down the obstructions, and it just pays for the time of the logger to take them down.
Yeah.
So that's going to be happening as long as, if the bids come through and all that. We've gotten the okay from the county on all that.
Cool.
So
Good.
Can they relocate the birds to Belfair or something?
I know, right?
Well, they're
Throw in some gift cards.
They've come this far north, so I think we want to keep sending them south. And keep saying south, don't keep coming north, So
Can migrate out of here.
Yeah. Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith, good to catch up with you, and we'll keep our eyes on that project, and next time you come in, we'll talk about things happening at the industrial park there. So
Okay.
good to see you.
You
Have
too.
a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah,
It's,
Very
you
good.
too.